Your Excellencies, Undersecretary General and Executive Director of UN Women, and distinguished guests, thank you for having me here today, and thank you for not making me stand on that apple box. It is my honor today to invite everyone listening to be part of an honest conversation. Everyone listening in the room and everyone tuning in via the live feed, everyone who may not be familiar with what we're talking about and why. I would like to engage you in that conversation about what it means to be the kind of man that our world needs. After you've heard everything today and after you go through your lives and experience everything that you do, it's not hard to see that we live in a world that's not equal. It's one where gender inequality is commonplace and where power is usually controlled by men. Where women have to fight every day for fair opportunities and just outcomes. But I'd like to tell you about a parallel battle that is happening. A battle being fought in our world between two ideas of what it means to be a man. One idea is promoted by our patriarchal culture through media and politics and institutions that we interact with every day. The other idea is shaped by healthy and honest relationships and pushes back against sexist norms. The first idea promotes concepts like manning up. It teaches men not to be vulnerable. It says that women are emotional and that emotion is weakness and that the worst thing a man can be is weak. It says that the only acceptable emotion for a man is somewhere in orbit of cool, you know? Men are taught that any intimate relationship between two men is forbidden and something to not just be feared, but also be ridiculed. The first idea seduces with the lie that it empowers men by devaluing women, but in reality, it corrodes both. So in this war of ideas, that's the first combatant. But happily, it has an opponent that has helped me grow into the man that I am today. That second idea teaches us that a heart full of compassion and emotion is way stronger than any chiseled bicep. It teaches us that listening doesn't mean just yielding to authority, but it is a tool that generates empathy and so creates the conditions that lead to equity and equality. This idea teaches us that caretaking is labor. I'd like to say it again. It teaches us that caretaking is labor. It is a labor of love that cannot be measured by hours clocked. It cannot be billed or invoiced. It is labor that I've learned through examples of strong women in my life. As a boy, I watched my mother literally build our home with her bare hands. She ran her own business, and all this while juggling another job. As the youngest of 12 children, she served as therapist, social worker, teacher, to an extended family that spanned over 200 people. She was and still is a rock for so many people. In 1995, to support my sister's dream of being a doctor, my mother sold everything that we had and moved us to New York. Here she laid the foundation for our future with a heart full of passion and a belly full of fire. I watched my mother and my sister both hurdle the barriers facing women, immigrants, people of color, and black women in particular. Their struggles fueled my work as an actor and made me the man that I am today. In my own industry, power sits with a privileged few. So people of color face prejudice, and women colleagues endure stereotypes that lead to pay inequity and gender-based violence. Recently, we've heard brave women and some men, brave men, come forward to call times up. That same dynamic, powerful men abusing others without repercussion, fuels violence against women in my home country of Trinidad and Tobago. And as many of you know, women all around the world. If power mainly resides with men, what does this imply for accountability? If the world is unfair, who is responsible for making it right? This cannot be a burden just for women. We men must play an active role in ensuring a more just world. We men must not only be part of gender equality, not just the conversation, but the solution. We men must defy the structures of patriarchy and outdated notions of manhood and use that questioning to build more just societies. I was really struck earlier when Elizabeth said that 1 in 3 women and girls will face gender-based violence in their lives. 1 in 3 million would be too much. 1 in 3 billion would be too much. But 1 in 3, that's way too much. This violence is an abuse of power. It devalues women's bodies. It exploits women for the benefit and profit of others. It treats women as if they are not fully human. In order to build a more just world, feminism is necessary. It means an inalienable right to freedom for all through opportunities and outcomes that don't belong to one gender. Advancing feminism means changing how we as men practice masculinity. Change in this case can begin with our making different choices. So choose to disrupt the status quo. When you see a man in your life talk about a woman disparagingly or disrespectfully, stop him. Challenge him. When you hear a man use veiled sexist remarks about why a woman wasn't right for the job or the promotion or that role, challenge him. When you witness a man harass or assault a woman, stop him. Every time you disrupt the status quo, you are choosing change. All of us can be the change that we want to see. But our choices can't stay in this interpersonal realm. It has to evolve. We need men to choose to join women in creating systemic change. I challenge all of you today to reevaluate what a man's place, responsibility, and role are in this world. A man's responsibility is not to empower women, but to be an ally in guaranteeing that women get the whole universe of freedoms that we often take for granted. Freedom of expression, freedom of thought, and freedom of possibility. There cannot be gender justice if men sit on the sidelines. There cannot be gender justice if men turn a blind eye to abuse. There cannot be gender justice if men have no skin in the game. The game isn't zero-sum. When women are not given the same opportunities as men to achieve their full potential, all of us lose. Why would we choose a world where women can't thrive? Why would we choose a world where women fear violence and oppression, exclusion? What inventions, what teachings, what art do we lose out on when women aren't free to participate as full human beings? Imagine a society where all women had fair opportunities and outcomes. Imagine what kind of man you would be. Engaging in this conversation can be daunting, and sometimes men feel as though we can't get it right, and perhaps we won't. But if we don't start, we'll never get anywhere. If we don't take action just because we're afraid to fail, then we've already failed. For centuries, women activists have put their blood, sweat, and tears into promoting the rights of the oppressed. And it's about time more men brought our voices, minds, and bodies to the conversation. In closing, I would like to thank the United Nations for creating the HeForShe movement, and through which we men can demonstrate our support for gender equality. We have an ambitious goal of engaging 1 billion men and boys as advocates for gender equality, and I hope you'll join us. I'm calling on all men to join this movement. I'm calling on all men to join this movement. As an actor, I've always been told that there are no small roles. And in the world of gender justice, I've found no statement to be more true. Choose to listen. Choose to feel. Choose to nurture. And most importantly, choose to be the man our world needs you to be, not the one it's saying that you should be. To every single man and boy tuning into this conversation today, I ask, I am HeForShe. Are you?